My life was like a plant that seemed to be in full bloom, fenced by family love, sown with wealth, and enclosed by tradition. Everything was in its place, everything seemed perfect. But one day, within this garden, an unexpected fruit grew. It was the kind of fruit of betrayal that, once you taste it, you can never escape from again. The strange thing is, the poison wasn't in the fruit itself, but in the person who gave me a taste. From that day forward, anyone who touched my heart would instantly be transformed into a different person. Why? The journey I took to find the answer has left me suspended between intimacy and a curse. My name is Denite, and I've spent most of my life in Addis Ababa. I have 2 older sisters, and after me, there are 2 younger brothers. I am the middle child of our family. Being in the middle means living between 2 worlds. You exist on the line where the responsibility of the elders and the boisterousness of the young ones meet. For me, however, our home was a paradise, like a picture-perfect painting. Therefore, I am a girl who grew up with a good life. Our home was full of everything. Everything was available. We were beloved children to our parents, who provided us with everything we needed and wanted. They never treated any of us differently. We were all equal. Whether you were a good student or a lazy one, in that house, we were all the same. Because I was raised with such love and saw the trust and affection between my parents, I grew up hoping to find a love just like it. In our house, you could be lazy, perhaps even weak, or a child for whom things didn't work out easily. None of that was a problem. Our parents raised us by always saying, "You can do it, don't worry." In our home, the main things that were unacceptable were betraying trust, telling lies, stealing. Basically, those were the unwanted things. In short, the only unforgivable act was breaking the 10 commandments of God. If you broke those, if you lied or cheated, you would become an outcast in our home. But everything else was not a problem. Since I come from such a family, it was inevitable that I would wish for a similar life. I wanted everything about me to be based on truth. I don't know why. It's just that my father raised me saying, it's the outcome that matters, not the excuse. So I always focused on my results, and that outcome had to be a success. So, as a woman, I pursued my education, but since I wasn't a particularly gifted student, I was usually ranked as an average student. Later, as I grew up, I left college, and because my family was well off, my lifelong dream of opening a supermarket was fulfilled for me. When I started the business, I was incredibly happy. The shop was more than just a job. It was my own kingdom. With every item I placed on the shelves, I felt like an architect building a structure. For the first time, I found something I could point to and say, "This is me," because it was the only job I had dreamed of opening since I was a child. Furthermore, because I value propriety, and it was a job one could do while maintaining one's dignity and principles, I loved it very much. Of course, while I was in school, all the way until I entered college, there were many boys who asked for my love. I wasn't bad looking, and I wasn't lacking in my maturity, patience, or good manners. But my focus wasn't on any of that. It wasn't about playing love games. I only dreamed of a marriage exactly like my parents, one where you fall in love over something meaningful, get engaged, exchange rings, and have a wedding. So, I would simply reject all the love proposals that came my way. I never accepted them. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I finished my education properly and entered the world of work. While I was doing well at my job, my sisters also got married in a wonderful way. They too had established marriages almost identical to our families. They are happy in their marriages. They would visit me at my workplace, at my establishment, with their husbands. Their conversations, their laughter, their calmness, it was all so heartwarming and delightful. I too wished to be like them once again. The life they were living was, to me, like a beautiful image seen in a mirror. but I was standing on the outside of that mirror, unable to step into the picture. This created an unspoken thirst within me. The question, "When will it be my turn?" began to torment me night after night. Then, while I was in this state, a customer started visiting me all the time. He came so frequently, almost daily, that he would sometimes buy the same thing he had already bought. Sometimes he'd buy something he didn't need, and other times, thinking of something not available in the store, he would ask me, "Do you have this?" I would laugh and tell him, "No, we don't." He'd do the same thing the next day. He would try to get my attention by asking for things that couldn't possibly be in the store. As he continued this for a long time, and my staff and I started to laugh and wonder about him, if by chance he was late in coming, I couldn't help but think, I wonder why he hasn't come today. In this way, I became someone who occasionally thought about him. Yes, even if you dislike such things, when you get used to them, you can't help but think about them when they're missing. And so I began to think about him. And my thinking about him, I believe, led me to develop an interest in him without even realizing it. I started to care about him. For a person I previously paid no mind to, if he missed a day, I reached the point of asking, "What happened? Are you okay? You didn't come yesterday?" He would reply, "I'm fine, I'm sorry." He would apologize with such humility, as if he had failed to perform a duty he was supposed to. This made me laugh even more because he had no obligation to come to my shop every day, yet he would apologize for his absence. As we continued like this, we began to chat a little more. Our conversations, however, were simple. "Why didn't you come yesterday?" Or he would ask for something that wasn't there. I'd say, "We don't have it." He'd ask, "When will it arrive?" And I'd reply, "I'll let you know when it comes." Or he would buy something we had and leave. Our conversations never went beyond that. But through our eyes, we began to understand that he cared for me, and I for him. So he would come to my workplace every single day without fail. If, for some reason, he missed a single day, I started to lose my patience. Slowly, I became the kind of person who couldn't get through a day without seeing him, so I had no choice. On the day he finally came, I had to ask him why he was doing this. Because the last time he failed to show up, it wasn't just for one day. He had been absent for a whole week straight, and this was more than I could bear. Only I know how much I worried, wondering what might have happened to him. But what could I do besides wait? I didn't have his phone number. I didn't know where he lived, who his friends were, where he spent his days, or what he did for a living. Since I knew nothing about him, there was nothing I could do but wait. So I waited with patience and hope, and he didn't disappoint me. After a week, he came back smiling as usual. The joy I felt when he arrived surprised even me. It forced me to think, what is happening to me? It was as if the key to my happiness was in his pocket. If he came, I was happy, and if he didn't, happiness would flee from me. During the times he was absent, even my beloved shop couldn't make me happy. There was no joy for me, not even in doing the work I loved. It got to the point where even my employees noticed. That past week had been a bad one. The moment he appeared, I was overjoyed. They too understood my situation. They all glanced at each other. And he said to me, "Don't be mad at me, Meg. I disappeared and worried you, didn't I?" He seemed to understand what I had been going through, what I had endured. It even crossed my mind that maybe he was having me watched somehow. When he apologized, it was from the heart. And I, perhaps feeling a bit coy, said, "I won't forgive you. You were gone for a whole week." Wow. If he had said, "So what if I was gone? What's it to you?" I would have had no answer, because he wasn't my friend, not my brother, not my lover, and not my husband. So why was I being so forward with him? I couldn't understand it myself, but I just said, "I won't forgive you. Get out." He begged me, "Please forgive me," and that annoyed me. How can you just disappear for a week without showing up? And before that, you used to come every day. What do you want from me? We argued a lot. At that moment, I don't know, he said. I didn't come because I wasn't feeling well, but my absence hurts you more than it hurts me. When he said that, I felt a little happy. On that occasion, he asked for my love. We left the employees and went to a different cafe. There, in a way I never expected, he had gathered my friends, my classmates, and my childhood companions and asked me to be his love. He didn't just ask for my love, he also asked, "Will you marry me?" It was completely unexpected. Everything happened so suddenly. What kind of character does he have? What kind of character do I have? What are his aspirations? What are his dreams? And what are my aspirations and dreams? Without understanding any of this, a guy who used to just loiter around my shop and who had disappeared for a week created another shock for me while I was already in a state of shock and bewilderment. But he had prepared for everything. One of my employees had been secretly telling him about my situation. So he had already understood that I loved him when he asked me to marry him. This was very shocking and surprising to me. It was also a day I thanked God because I had always wanted to fall in love and go straight into marriage. I just wanted my eternal partner to be one person. I was so happy about this. So I had no other choice. I accepted his proposal with tears of joy. Everyone was happy. The surprising thing was, even my sisters were present for his "Will you marry me?" proposal. Since my older sisters approved, I knew my parents would approve as well, so I was happy. His friends, colleagues, and childhood companions were also there, so I met them all at that time. It seemed like everything was blessed for us, and I was incredibly happy. And so we began our love story. While we were there, he told me he would be sending elders to my family. I spoke to my parents and gave him my consent. He too was happy and sent elders to ask for my hand in marriage. My family was overjoyed. However, they didn't want us to get married right away. "We have things to arrange, so give us some time," they said, and our wedding was scheduled for a year later. He wasn't happy about this, but since it was a family decision, he said, "It's okay. We'll spend the year in love." I was happy too. "It's fine. Don't be upset," I told him. "We'll wait, getting to know each other in every way." In this manner, we began to experience an intoxicating love. That beginning was, for me, like a candle lit in the darkness. Its light warmed my heart, but it also made the shadows around me more pronounced. The love, the hope, everything was at the peak of my emotions. "This is what I have been waiting for," I convinced myself. However, one day during this time, after spending the evening relaxing with him, when I said I was going home, he pleaded, "Please, let's spend tonight together." I said, "Okay," because he was my future husband. My family had delayed our wedding, but he wouldn't have minded if it happened right then. So I spent the night with him. And we did what people do before their wedding. When we were intimate, I had never known another man before him. Mac. So, thinking I was giving him everything, I was very happy. He too, when I told him I had never done such a thing with another man before, loved and trusted me even more. But on that day, after we were intimate once, he left with his phone, saying he'd be right back, and he never returned. When I called him, he wouldn't answer. I tried many things to find a trace of him. I asked his friends, but since he didn't want to be found by me, I couldn't find him, and I couldn't tell my family. How could I, and what would I even say? I was left alone to grieve, to be angry, and to wonder what had happened. The worst kind of grief is for someone who vanishes without a reason. Your heart burns with 100 questions. What did I do? What did I lack? Was the love even real? You live suspended between truth and doubt. Your worst enemy becomes the word, perhaps, that forms in your mind. To know that a single night can define your forever is more agonizing than death. And so, we went on like this for a long time. Even after our wedding day passed, I couldn't find any trace of him. If we happened to meet on the street, he would run away. I don't know what happened. He would text me, "I'm sorry, don't be mad at me. I can't see you anymore." That's it. If he saw me, he would flee as if he'd seen the devil. I couldn't understand what was wrong, because if I had been intimate with another man before, I would have thought that's why he's not pleased. But apart from him, I had never been with anyone else. This should have made him happy, not run away from me. So I was at a loss for what to think. Was this whole thing, sending the elders, everything, all a lie, an act? I started to think so. But not just me. Everyone knew that it had all been real. My family was shocked when our wedding day passed. The reason they came up with, the excuse they made, was a temporary comfort to me. We set the wedding date too far out, and he wasn't happy about it. He wanted to marry you then. We are the ones who did this to you. We're sorry, please don't hold it against us, they told me. Even though it wasn't their fault, this was more calming and comforting than them pressuring me with questions like, "What did you do to him to make him cancel a wedding?" Because without that, the anxiety I was in would have been unbearable. In this way, without knowing why he left me, the man who was my first love, the man I thought was my everything, left and was gone. And I, in grief, sorrow, and feelings of self-blame, remained silent for about a year. For a whole year, I withered like a tree living in a desert. The rain of love had come and watered me, but the wind had carried it away just as quickly. The seed of hope planted inside me had dried up before it could sprout. But then, from among the boys who had asked for my love, I decided this one is better and started a relationship with a guy named Aman. We were together for about 6 months, and things went well. He convinced me that he loved me. He was a good person. He respected me. He cherished me. I was beginning to feel that he could be a balm for the wound left by my ex-fiancé. But in the end, he also said, "Let's spend the night together." After I spent the night with him, starting from that very night, he vanished. I couldn't find him. The strange thing is, I had been with him almost as a virgin. I thought it was because I had only been intimate once and not repeatedly. He thought so too. Because I had told him about my past, he had asked me, "Then why did you hide that you're a virgin?" I was surprised and gave him no answer. But after that day, without knowing what happened, he too distanced himself from me. The heartbreak repeated itself. The story changed, but the ending was the same. At that point, however, the question shifted from, "What did they do to me?" to, "What did I do to them?" The suspicion began to turn inward from the outside. Meske, what did I do to them? Why do they act this way right after sleeping with me? Does this mean they only want me to sleep with? I began to think, and it didn't take long after that. After 3 months, impulsively, I started something, call it love, call it an affair, with another person. But after I slept with him, without even repeating it a second time, he left me. I remember he asked me a similar question to Aman's. "Why didn't you say you weren't a virgin?" I didn't give him an answer either, but when this happened for the 3rd time, I didn't know what to do. I was too ashamed to talk to anyone, because even if they didn't love me, I couldn't understand why they all, for the same reason and at the same point in the relationship, seemed to be conspiring to leave me. Was it a coincidence or something else? It wasn't clear to me. As this kept happening, I started to get involved even with married men. All my principles were shattered. The respected Danait, the girl who feared the 10 Commandments, slowly began to hide inside a woman who had lost her feelings, a woman who only knew thirst. In the darkness of hotel rooms, I was selling not just my body, but the very principles I was raised on. But no man I was with ever wanted to sleep with me more than once. I tried it with many men, went out with many men, But they were all the same. All of them, after sleeping with me once, would fear me like the plague. Everything fell apart. My thoughts were scattered. My purpose was lost. I became a person with no self-confidence. No one wants to live with me. No one wants to continue with me, not even for temporary love. I would think and cry. I found out the real reason for this through a friend. Once, through this friend, I met a guy and we were intimate. But after we were together, when I called him a second time, he wouldn't answer his phone. He too, like all the others, had distanced himself from me. At that point, having no other option, I asked my friend, "Why is he doing this? What did I do to him?" I asked her. The answer she gave me was that he had already told her about the matter. She had noticed him avoiding me and told him, "Please, don't do this while I'm in the middle of it. Answer her calls." But he had replied, "Please, that girl is like a plague to me. I fear her like a spear. I don't want to see her a second time." When she asked him, "What's your reason?" he told her his reason. The reason he gave was something I never expected. He said, "When I was intimate with her, I felt like I had entered a venomous place, like I was being viciously bitten by an animal with sharp teeth, and I was in agony. Forget being with her. Even when I think about her, or when she calls me, I feel like World War III has started, and I get scared." She told me that he was trembling with fear as he spoke. Finally, the reason became clear to me, but I couldn't understand why I was this kind of person. The reason I'm sharing this story is that I couldn't tell it to anyone. I didn't even know what to say to my friend. What does this mean? It must be an excuse he came up with. Do I have something different from other women? I thought, trying to hide my feelings. But what she said was something I couldn't believe and had never considered. I know of this kind of thing happening to other people. Maybe yours is like that, maybe not. But there are girls like this. This happens when a spell, asare, or tseki, is cast on them. If a boy they rejected after a love proposal goes and casts a spell on them. So the spell or charm that was done to them creates this kind of problem when they are intimate with another person and they end up unable to be with anyone, she told me. I didn't want to believe this, but when I looked at my own situation, perhaps born of fear, I was forced to think, could it really be something like that? Because there were many men who asked for my love whom I had rejected. Many, starting from my school days, especially one. He used to bother me a lot. "If you can't be mine, you can't be anyone's." He would always threaten me. He still begs me even now. When I refuse him, he says, "Fine. In the end, you will inevitably come back to me, having lost all hope." So, I am tormented by the thought and anxiety. Could he have done to me what my friend suggested? Now, at the end of my journey, I stand between two choices. One choice leads to my friend's suggestion, to the world of charms, spells, and witchcraft. The other choice is to abandon all these foreign ideas and make an effort to heal the psychological damage within me. Which is the true path? Is my problem physical or spiritual? But in the end, whether the problem comes from the outside or from within, the first step to healing is to forgive yourself, to embrace the tainted, hurt, betrayed Danny and say, "It wasn't your fault." I believe this might be the first step towards healing. After that, I leave it to God and to time. But until when? This question torments me. So, my brothers and sisters, what should I do? Does such a problem even exist? Or am I the only one? Could what my friend is saying be true? Or is it just a folk tale? I don't know what to do. Everything has fallen apart. Happiness has fled from me. So please, if you know anything, advise me. Thank you.